Hello, everybody. Well, it's a little chilly outside and a little early this morning, but I wanted to catch you up on some of the yarn and knitting I've been doing. We all talk about our yarn stashes and how we want to get rid of our yarn stashes and use up all that yarn. And what I've ended up with is partial skeins of yarn and not enough to make a big project for sure, and not even enough to make a scarf sometimes. Um, a lot of my little pieces would be better off if I wove, which I need to get back to. I know. And I think last time I saw you, I was looking at making this scarf. This was a skein. Um, it was a good size skein, and this is all I had left. Okay, and I looked at the picture on the skein of the scarf the girl was wearing, and I liked it. And I could tell that they had knit and purl. There's the purling in between. And then every so often they would have a row of purl on this side. Um, and that really worked well. I think I did it every 6 rows. I did 2 rows, of purling on the right side. On the wrong side, it looks like that, which is fine too. But I like that pattern. This is long enough for, a nice, it's soft, it's acrylic, it's just a simple yarn. So that used up a skein of chunky yarn, and all I've got left is this. I ought to throw that away, I really should. The next thing I did, so the next thing I did is what I do sometimes when I'm desperate. And I go into my yarn stash and I look for 2 yarns that will go together, because none of my yarns as singles are interesting enough. So if I put 2 together, they might be interesting. Now, this is some yarn. This is Loops and Threads. This is a big old package of yarn. It was 2 hanks like this. That's a lot of yarn. I have never opened up that hank yet. This one, I've got this much of the ball left. It's a very nice, smooth, light worsted weight. I would say probably similar to a Simply Soft. Anyway, it's kind of a boring gray. The other one I got like that was a big package of boring white. That's what they had. And so I decided to pair that boring gray with this bizarre yarn that I got from somewhere. You see, it doesn't have scratchy numbers on the outside, but I'm sure I got it at a thrift shop. This is Bernat Galaxy. It looks like this. It's a fuzzy yarn. I like combining boring yarns and fuzzy yarns and seeing what you get. And then you knit them together. I do this a lot, especially when I'm making scarves. And so you have this little boring gray and this fuzzy, especially when it has occasional bumps like that. And this has bumps that are gold. And I thought that was pretty neat. It's not really a gray. It's kind of a silver and gold. And you put the 2 together, and you can see the dark is kind of a base in there. Anyway, so I put those 2 together, and this is what I got. I made a little a Mobius infinity cowl. Okay, so the infinity means it's a loop. Cowl means it's not very long. Mobius means it has a turn in it like that makes it lie flat instead of sticking up. And that is very, very, boy, I'm tempted to keep this myself. It's let me hold it up closer to you. Oh, my hair's going to go everywhere. So this is what it ended up looking like. It's just straight knit, garter stitch, no purling, nothing fancy. I may have said this before, but my philosophy about knitting things like this, and I am no fancy knitter, is that if you use an interesting yarn, you don't actually need an interesting stitch. And so the interesting yarn, of course, is that Bernat. And it's a little funky looking, but probably somebody will come by the market and go, ooh, that's interesting. So that's 2 new scarves, 1 long straight one and 1 Mobius thingy. And then last night I had what happens to me about, maybe once a month, where I've had several nights of really good long sleep, and I'm just not sleepy. So I go to bed, and I lie there, and I think, I'm really not sleepy. I I don't really want to read. I want to do something. And so I got up and came in and went through my yarn stash again. And I found, it didn't have a label. This is a very chunky black. Very nice, very soft. It's definitely acrylic. And it was big, but of course it's chunky, so it's just hard to tell how much there is. But I thought that would probably make, it wouldn't have made a long scarf, but it would probably make a cowl. And I'm trying to decide how to finish it. And then combined with it, this was a thrift store. These were both thrift store finds. I had almost two skeins of fancy fur. See the picture? Y'all remember those fancy fur scarves? And they were 50 cents each. I don't know how much I paid for this. It didn't even have a label, and it was probably wound up with masking tape. But it was a nice yarn. So I sat up last night and I made this. Isn't that great? So the base yarn is the black. It's very stretchy. Oh, let me see. I did this on size 15 needles. Let me get those out. I think I used these 15s on both this one and the one last night. And the more I look at this, the more I like it. It's heavy because that black yarn is quite bulky. I haven't sewn it up yet. Okay. I'm thinking about sewing this end here, and it would still have that V-neck, and I think that that would be good as opposed to trying to get the ends together in a twist, and I think it would be too tight. So I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to seam it that way. And it's so busy, I don't think anybody will be able to tell. It also is very warm and cozy and fun. Some people come through the farmer's market and they want something wintry, but they don't want Christmas red and, you know, Santa Claus and Rudolph, but they want something that looks cozy and wintry. So I used up both of these, and I used up so much of that. And I put a little bit of a dent in that gray. And I actually I could make another. Oh, that's an idea. I could make another one like this for myself. I didn't think I would like this, but I really do. Oh, okay, because I have so much, I have endless amounts of that gray, and I have not only this little bit left, but I have a whole nother skein. So that's a thought. The other thing I wanted to tell you, after last week's little discussion of scarves that I was taking to the market, I wonder which one do you think sold that I took? Well, the one that sold, and sold pretty quickly, was the one that I knitted like 12 or 14 years ago. That was kind of a blue-green, and it was wool, and it was scratchy. And then finally, in the last year, I think, or two, I felted it in the washing machine and shrunk it up. I put 2 little knitted buttons on it, and I used the blanket stitch around the buttonhole. It was just such a pretty color, and outside at the market, it just shone. And a lady came by in a gorgeous autumn orange coat and put that on, and it just lit up her outfit. And so that a friend bought it for her. Isn't that nice to have friends like that? This thing is squashy. And then another one sold. It was a longer cowl in a solid burgundy, and it had all kinds of cabling and stitches, and it was, but I thought it was not too, it was like either too long or too short. It was a weird size, but a girl came by who was kind of short. She was petite, and she put that on, and it just went with her dark hair, and it looked long on her because she was short, and it looked so good, and she bought it like that. So that is so much fun to watch the things you've made sitting on your couch, to go walking down the street looking really beautiful on somebody. I just think that that is so much fun. And I will say, this may sound rather mercenary, but selling yarn like that is a really good way to make money, especially if you bought your yarn, you bought good yarn, new yarn, but you bought it at thrift stores or on sale somewhere, and then you turn it into something, sell it right away. All right. What else what's in here? Oh, this is a mistake I made. This is a knitting mistake, but I'm going to redo this. Oh, this is awful. I did do this on those size 20 needles. This is very bulky yarn. I didn't know how much I had, and I thought, well, it'll make a cowl, but it didn't. It's just too short, but it's also too wide. And I thought, well, maybe I'll add some green on the end. Well, that was a horrible idea. So I took the needles off, and I'm going to pull this. I'm going to pull the whole thing out. And if I have time, I might knit it up again and make it not so wide and see if, I still don't think it'll be long enough though. I mean, that has a long way to go to get around somebody's neck. So we'll see. That I may have to put that way on the back burner somewhere. Now, I was recently talking about a knitting project that I was afraid of. And I will tell you, I plan to knit a blanket for my granddaughter. I've made things for her before. I've made things for the grandchildren. But they outgrow those first baby blankets, and you want to make them something that's a little bigger. And I also, I did that for one of my grandsons and made him a mitered square blanket. Anyway, I may eventually make quilts. That's another discussion, is quilt fabric that I have come into possession of. But the pattern that I was very afraid of starting was the 10-stitch blanket. It's called 10-stitch blanket. It is knitted, but it's knitted from the inside out, and you start and you kind of go in this box pattern that gets bigger and bigger. It's like a knitted version of a log cabin quilt kind of affair where you just go out and out. So if you have a lot of yarn of the same, exactly the same weight but different colors, you can make it go out like that. Well, I did try. It's in that bag right there. I even did a sample section. Let me show it to you. Okay, this bag has all the Simply Soft yarn that I intend to use on this project. This is just the sample. I started it on straight needles, which I wouldn't use later. And you can just, here's the first section, and you taper it down like this to the corner, and then you take the corner and you go this way, and then at one point you're going to turn again and go down and pick up stitches here. Anyway, it doesn't look like it should be hard, but this turn here is complicated. And it's not like I couldn't do it if I really wanted to challenge, and I may still do it, but I can tell by the way that I've put it off that I don't like it. And here's a picture. I'll put a picture here for just a second of a 10-stitch blanket pattern, and you'll see what it looks like. And I'm just not wild about the way it looks. I don't think it's very pretty. So I think that's why I've been putting it off. I don't mind learning a new pattern, but I don't want to do it if I don't find it attractive, especially for my grandbaby girl. So I went looking for a new pattern, and here is a picture of that pattern. And I like it. It has a soft, snuggly quality that you want in a blanket for a little child. It looks so comfy. It's not hard to make, but it is, to get that texture, you have to go back and forth between knit and purl and knit and purl and knit and purl. And that back and forth is a bit of a pain in the neck, but it won't be a big blanket. The thing is, it'll be knitted, and so if I use all these different colors, it'll just be striped going up. And I gotta think if I want that. I don't have enough of any one color to make it a single color. So I'm not sure what I want to do with that, but I definitely want to use my Simply Soft. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is cards that I've been painting. I won't take you through the painting process, but I thought you might like to see what I've been painting this past week. I sold so many Christmas cards, hand-painted ones, at the farmer's market. And here is a clip of a mistake I made in one of them. I don't know if this will be useful to anybody, but I thought I would talk about how to rescue a bad painting. A bad little card. This was a Christmas card I was painting, and after I painted the mistletoe and the ribbon, I realized it was not centered on the card. And I was like, ugh, how do I do that? How do I fix that? And I pondered it for a day or something. I figured I couldn't add to the mistletoe to try to balance it on the card. And not all cards have to be symmetrical, but something that's obviously supposed to be symmetrical kind of has to be. So in the end, I thought I would add some kind of a squarish frame design on this side. So I got out my very, very useful Jelly Roll Gold pen, and I got my ruler. I was using a ruler. In spite of that, when I was doing this straight line over here, my pen went askew, and one of those side lines was created. It went toward the mistletoe, and I was like, oh, I've ruined it twice. And I thought, well, just take it and use it. So I added a whole bunch of more little lines going off like little branches, and decided I would just turn it into a branchy thing. And then I added some little gold balls and then little red balls, and that's about as good as it can get, I think, as far as improving it. But somebody will probably come along and go, ooh, I like that. So we'll hope. Okay, so there's that card, but there's lots and lots of others that I've painted, and I'm going to just go through them and put the image up here in front of my face and talk about them a little bit. Now this first one has a big band of tape across the middle. I just used that green frog tape. This was from a little tutorial on YouTube that was very fun and easy to do. I do these kind of little branches and berries and hollies all the time, but putting the lettering in the middle was kind of new, so that was fun. I did another of these poinsettias. I didn't have a tutorial for that one, but there was a photo somewhere online. If you look up watercolor Christmas cards, they're just an endless supply. Here is another little Christmas tree with snow in the sky. That's very washy. You start the background at the top and let it wash down. That's very fun to do. Anything I do with Christmas trees, they just always sell so fast. And then I did a candle with a little blue frame background. I love doing those frame background where you draw the frame with watercolor pencil, and then you use clear water to draw it in. And that was very fun. And then all the other colors you can put right on top of that pale blue. I did leave a little white area in the middle for the flame. I love doing flames too. They're very fun. And then here's a Christmas tree. I saw a picture like this on on Google Images. And it's just got a lot of gold ornaments. I'm going to do another tree today. And, oh, the wreath. Okay, so I saw a picture of this on Google Images. A wreath. It didn't look exactly like this. My leaves are very green. But it was the same structure. I like using my Jelly Roll Gold for those frames around there. That's easy to do. The next one is a tree with some big ornaments on it. And that's fun. You just draw those circles with different objects you have that are around, little lids and stuff. And then you draw the tree around it, and then you go back in and use a really washy water effect to spread pigment in there. I also put some salt in some of those globes. I'm not sure if I like that. Then there was a wreath with a bunch of red berries and another treescape. Oh, now these last two. Now this may be a favorite that I've ever done, is this lamppost. I saw this on Google Images and thought, I think I could probably do that. And it was very fun. And I took a scan of it in case I ever want that to be something I get printed, because I like that a lot. Okay, and then the last one, I haven't taken a picture of it yet, but this is it. And again, off of Google Images, somebody did something very similar to this, but I think they had some text, or I might write something at the bottom. I'm not very good at writing freeform. Some people have a calligraphy gift and I don't, but I thought that was a cute idea with the little Christmas lights. So, collecting a few cards to take to the market this Saturday. It should be a good market, I hope. We'll see. I'll tell you next week which one of these scarves produced interest in my customers, which one of them walked down the street, and which ones of them were rejected. Oh, the other thing is pecans, and I have some great news on the pecan front. Okay, so I have a friend that I've known in the county for a number of years, and she wants about as many pecans as I can give her. I have discovered that I enjoy cracking and picking pecans at night while I watch TV. And that indicates that I've now become an old woman because when I was a young woman, I hated doing that. And my mother enjoyed it. Well, now I've become my mother. And so I'm just going to endlessly pick pecans all winter, which gives me a motivation to go pick them up off the ground, the good ones. And then I have another friend from church who also told me that she's enjoying the same thing. Aren't we boring? And so she asked if I had any more, and I was like, oh, yes, because I love picking up pecans off the ground. I love going out there with the dogs on a sunny afternoon with a little bucket and walking around and finding pecans in the grass, which is so silly. But again, it focuses the mind. It's very relaxing. I hope you have something like that to do that you find relaxing as well. All right. This is so interesting. Okay, I think that's it for this week, guys. December's busy, so we'll see if I have anything else to show you. Bye-bye. One last little bit of knitting before I leave. Remember I was talking about this red, which is Lion Brand, Hometown USA or something. And the brown, which is an Encore from Plymouth Yarn. It does have, I think, 10% wool, but that's not enough to make it felt. Anyway, so I decided I wanted something a little Christmassy on my table. So I decided to put these two together so it wouldn't just be plain red, Christmassy red. It would be kind of autumnal with those two together. I love blending yarn colors like this and knitting them together. So this is how it's turning out. Which one's the right side? There we go. That's the right side. Yeah. So I started off with just a garter stitch on the border, and then I decided I would have 2 stitches worth of knit on either side. And then in the middle, I cast on 16 stitches across using size 15 needles. And in the middle, I decided I would just do an alternating knit purl and make sure that when I'm going on the back side that no 2 identical stitches sit on top of each other. So to make sure that they are alternating. And it gives it that lovely bumpy texture. Yes, I'm very pleased with this. I'm going to turn this again into some type of a cowl, just a neck warmer, a snug. This black one I made, oh my goodness, that is the most wonderfully comfortable neck snug I've ever worn. I hate to sell it, and I might not. If it doesn't sell tomorrow at the market, I think I might keep it. I'll view that as a sign. So if you've never done blending 2 yarns together to get a different color effect, give that a try. This is these were just 2 random, almost full skeins of yarn sitting around. Neither one of them on their own was very spectacular, but together they look so much better. And I'll sell that at the market for $20, which is probably too cheap, but it will sell quickly. And when you have 3 or 4 or 5 of those at the market, you can make a little bit of money. It's a fun thing to do, a good way to use up all those little scraps of yarn in your stash. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.